Hi, my name's Phil Gardner and welcome to Fun with Boxes, a rather special impromptu Fun with Boxes. Our very lovely friend Ariana asked us if we knew anything about Funkoverse because she had just bought a game and wanted to learn how to play it. Well, of course, we had to help out, so hopefully this video will be of use to her and also perhaps to some of you out there. Now, some of you may have heard of the Funkoverse games before and some of you may not have. Now, there are a tremendous amount of Funkoverse figures that you can get to play in the Funkoverse games. A tremendous amount. And you can pick up small boxes with 2 characters in for you to play a 2-player game. And you can also pick up bigger boxes that will have 4 characters for you to play, and each game will give you characters with special and different abilities, different items that you can use to play, and you can mix and match your Funkoverse characters and play various games. You could be playing Back to the Future with Jurassic Park with, rather bizarrely, perhaps the Golden Girls. Who knows? It's up to you. And you can mix and match everything in the game, from the map locations, use different ones, and you can use different items with different characters. It is an absolute blast and a lot of fun to play. I'd forgotten how much fun we actually had playing this, so it was really great to dig out a game and play a game to refresh the rules a bit and just have a lot of fun. Now, this game has been out for a while and you can grab a lot of bargains out there now. These games have really come down in price, so hopefully if you're interested in these games you should be able to pick up a couple of sets and get playing without breaking the bank. Now, as you can see, there are many sets, so I'm going to take a look at the Alice in Wonderland set and also perhaps include a bit of Peter Pan and Captain Hook as well. But just for this how to play example, I'll be taking a look at the Alice in Wonderland Funkoverse set. So without any further ado, let's have a look at how you set up and how you play a game of Funkoverse. Okay, let's take a look at how we set up a game of Funkoverse. And what I'm first going to do is set up the basic version of the game. Now, every game comes with the full rules instructions, and the basic rules are going to be the same in every game you pick up. But each character within the game will have unique abilities, and there will be occasionally FAQs on the back of certain rules booklets to help you along as well. But first, let's set up a basic game. For this video, I'm going to set up the Alice in Wonderland 2-player basic game. So the first thing we need to do is to place the board onto the table with the Tea Party side face up. I'll just move the map to one side for the moment. Both players will use dice, so set them up onto each side of the board, and then each player will have a cooldown track, and I'll go over what these are shortly. Each player takes 2 exhausted markers, and then the players choose which of the main characters they're going to use and attach a black base onto one and a white base onto the other. So here we have the Queen of Hearts here, put the black base on there, and there we have Alice with the white base. Whoops, doing a rather nice bit of breakdancing, but if you could just stop that for a minute. There. Each character will receive an ally. So for the Queen of Hearts, there's the playing card, and for Alice, she gets a kitten. And then we take the character cards for each character. So Alice gets Alice's card, and obviously the Queen of Hearts gets her card. Now, additionally, there's a card for the kitten, and there's a card for the playing card as well. And there's an extra card for the Queen of Hearts, and that's a status card, which she also gets. Now in the bottom right hand corner of each of the character cards, you will see some coloured icons, and you will take those matching coloured ability tokens. So the Queen of Hearts would get these, and Alice would get the blue and yellow. And in this game, Alice gets the White Rabbit token, which is a minion token. And once we've done that, we take the first player marker, flip it, and see who goes first. So here, the Queen of Hearts would go first. And the final part of setup for the base game is placing your characters. So the white player will start in this area here. So we put Alice there, and her basic character there, the kitten. And then the Queen of Hearts would go here, and her basic character, the playing card. And then you're ready to begin. Let's take a look at some of the components now. The first thing you'll see on the character cards are the name of the character there on the left hand side, and their abilities are all listed here on the right hand side, along with the cost for each ability. Now, they have a defense value of 2 in the bottom left hand corner, and that's the number of dice you will roll to defend yourself when you are attacked. Now, each character also gets a trait as well, which is listed at the bottom, along with their ability dots, which are the starting tokens that you will receive for the game. Now, your base characters, represented by these tokens rather than actual playing pieces, they are simplified characters that you can use until your collection of Funkoverse characters grows, in which case then you can swap these tokens out for other characters such as Peter Pan and Captain Hook, for example. Now, just like the main characters, the basic characters also have a playing card which lists all the actions that you can do during the game, so that's quite handy. Now, the cooldown track is a fascinating aspect of the game and something that I particularly like. And the way the track works is, if I was to use an ability, for example, the Queen of Hearts, if I was going to use their ability there off with their heads, which would allow me to do a challenge 4, what I would do is I would take the red token and I would place it onto number 3 on the cooldown track, as represented by the number to the left of the ability. Now, there's an extra ability, but there, if the Queen is angry, decrease this ability cost by 2. So for the Queen of Hearts has a special little status card which shows whether she's angry or not. So if she had been in a nasty temper, then instead of putting this on the 3, we would reduce the cost down by 2 points down to 1. So for example, I've activated this ability, I've done what I need to do in the game, and it's now on number 3 on the cooldown track. Now, at the end of a round, once everybody has taken their turn, the way the cooldown track works is that this will decrease by 1. So I can't use this ability again until this comes off the cooldown track. So at the end of the following round, it would drop down into the 1 space, and then at the end of the following round, it would come back available to me. And this is the way the game would work. You'd be using an ability on one turn, perhaps another ability, and then these would be coming down and coming back into play at certain points during the game. So you need to manage when to use these more powerful abilities. But that's how the cooldown track works. And now on to actually playing the game. Well, each round players will take turns choosing a character to do an action, and then when all characters have taken their actions, the round ends and a new round begins. So on your turn, the first thing you do is choose one of your characters without an exhaustion marker. And no characters are exhausted at the start of the game, so you can choose whichever character you wish. Then you will perform up to 2 actions with your chosen character. And the actions can be basic or special, and a character may do the same action twice. However, if the character you've chosen to act is knocked down, then you will rally them. And all you will simply do is stand the character back up by using both of their available actions, and that is the end of their turn then. And you would place an exhausted marker onto the character card, just to show that they cannot take another turn this round. But first, let's take a look at the basic actions. And all characters can do these actions, including your basic characters, such as the kitten and the playing card. Your first action is move, and this is very straightforward. You can move up to 2 squares in any direction. Next, we have a basic challenge, and that is you would roll 2 dice to challenge an adjacent target. Next, you can assist a character, and you can assist an ally that has been knocked down. And what you would do is simply stand that ally back up. And the final basic action is interact, and this is not used during the first basic game, but you will use it in the scenarios for the full game. Now, there are special actions as well, and all characters except the basic characters can do these actions. The first one is ability. Spend an ability token to do an ability by placing it on your cooldown track on the number matching the ability's cost. The other special action you can use an item, and this action is not used in this first basic game, but just to be aware that some items will require an action to use. Now the third part of the turn is the rally, and that is, as we covered earlier on, if your chosen character is knocked down, then they can't do any actions. Instead, they just simply stand back up. Once your character has performed their actions, then you place an exhaustion marker on them to show that they cannot take another turn this round. And then the next player will take a turn. Now, once both players have exhausted all their characters, the round ends. And then we perform these following steps. First, we do the cooldown step, where both players shift everything on their cooldown track 1 number. Things that shift off the number 1 return to play. And when shifting off the cooldown track, characters, if your character is on the cooldown track, they will return to the starting area. And ability tokens return to your ability token pool, and item cards return to the characters holding those items. Then we refresh and simply remove the exhausted markers from all character cards. And then we pass the first player marker to the other player, and that player starts the next round by taking a turn with one of their characters. Let's take a look at the basic actions. Move. Now move allows you to move up to 2 squares, and you can move diagonally or orthogonally. Now the only thing to be aware of is you cannot move through standing rivals or obstructions. So in this example, you couldn't move through your rival. Instead, you would have to make your way around them. Now, obstructions vary map by map, but on this map, obstructions are these walled, blocked out areas here. And you cannot move through obstructions. So, for example, I could not move through that wall there. And similarly, I couldn't move through this part of the board either, because this is an obstruction, so I couldn't move there. Instead, I could move like that. Now, the rulebook has many diagrams around moving that will cover all the various scenarios you could encounter. So this does a very, very good job. All you really need to know is the basics, but there are special moves as well. Now, special moves may allow you to move something, and here are a number of rules around moving something. Once you played the basic game, it'd be a good idea to just take a look at these pages 12 and 13, which will talk you through a few examples there, just to clarify a few additional things around moving. And now on to a basic challenge. If we add 2 characters that are adjacent. So now here we have Alice and the Queen. If it was Alice's go, one of her actions could be to make a basic challenge. And a basic challenge is simply rolling 2 dice. And for every hit symbol you see, you will score 1 hit. And for every 3 exclamation points, that is 3 hits. So in this example, I've actually rolled 4 hits. In this example, I've rolled 1 hit and 1 defense. The defense is no good, so I've done 1 hit now to the queen. Now all characters have a defense of 2. So the player, using the queen, would roll 2 dice. And they would have 1 shield and 1 hit. The hit isn't good. The shield then would block the 1 hit that I did. And when you're doing a challenge, what you are trying to do is to roll more hits than the defender defends. So in this example, if I roll these, if Alice is attacking the queen, I've got 2 hits and 1 defense. So that's 1 hit left over, which is enough then to knock down the queen. If I had rolled the 2 hits and the queen had rolled 3 exclamation points, that would count as 3 defense, which would totally block the 2 hits, so nothing would happen. The assist ability. This allows you to stand up an adjacent ally that has been knocked down. So in this example, if Peter Pan and Alice were working together and controlled by 1 player, then Alice could stand up Peter Pan, and that's 1 action. Now in the base game, you'll be using basic characters. So in this example, if the kitten character had been knocked down, in which case we flip that over to show it's knocked down, Alice on her turn could use the assist action to stand that character back up again, flipping it back over to its active side. Now the interaction is not used in the basic game, but you can interact with something simply by being adjacent to it and performing the interact action. And you would follow whatever the instructions are on the scenario you were playing. So for example, interacting with this object here could gain you 1 victory point. So that's your basic actions. But every character will have special actions all of their own, and to perform them you simply follow the instructions that are on your card. So for example here, if the queen wanted to perform off with their heads, a challenge 4, against Alice they would roll 4 dice. So with the challenge you roll the number of dice that the challenge states. So challenge 4 is 4 dice. And I would have done 1 hit there to Alice. And to do that action, I need to put this onto the number 3 on the cooldown track. Alice, of course, gets to defend because every character has a basic 2 defense. And she's rolled 2 hits, which is not a shield, so the queen has managed to knock her down. Looking at Alice's ability here, she's got an ability called Grow Smaller and allows her to move 2, and this may move Alice through rivals and obstructions, so breaking the movement rule there. So we would put this onto number 2. This allows Alice to shrink and is able to get past this wall next to the queen. So I could do a move 1, 2 for example. Now you won't be able to use that token until that token is cycled through and become available again. Now every character does have a trait now. For example, Alice here, follow the white rabbit. When Alice becomes exhausted, you may place the white rabbit minion token in a square Alice can see. Then Alice may do a move 1 towards the white rabbit. So perhaps Alice has performed her 2 actions and is now exhausted, so will not take another turn until the next round. However, Alice does have the follow the white rabbit. When Alice becomes exhausted, so once she's performed all her actions, we can place the white rabbit token in a square Alice can see. For example, she could see this square because she has a line of sight to it, and what we do then, Alice may do a move 1 towards the white rabbit, so we would move Alice there. Now the queen's ability is get to the part where I lose my temper, and at the start of the game we give the queen the temper status card. And what this says is temper. While the temper status card is on your cooldown track, it means the queen is angry. Okay, so after a rival the queen can see does an interact or an assist. Then you place the temper status card on to track number 2 on your cooldown track and do a basic move or challenge. So this will mean now that the Queen is angry until this eventually slides off the cooldown track. So, for example, off with their heads is a challenge 4, but if the Queen is angry, we decrease the ability cost by 2. So the ability cost is 3, which would mean we would have to place that there. However, because the Queen is angry, we would decrease that cost by 2. So it is only going to go on to the 1 cooldown track and will come off that then at the end of the turn. Now all the characters have varying abilities and varying traits, so every character of the game does perform very, very differently. Now, some characters in the games will come with certain items that you can attach to the characters. For example, there's a green flamingo mallet that we can attach to Alice, so you just simply slot that into her hand so that we know that she has now got this ability during the game. So during the game, she could use this ability, and it's ability level 2 there, to perform a challenge 3 and then move the target 1 square. So she would roll 3 dice to attack the target. The target would defend as normal and would be knocked down if the attack was higher than the defense, but then also that target would move 1 square. There is the pink flamingo mallet, and this allows you to move 1 and then challenge 3. So if the Queen had this in her hand, then using this ability she could move 1, and now she's adjacent to Alice. She can perform the challenge 3 and roll 3 dice, and look at that, an attack of 5. Alice would then defend as normal and get knocked down if they couldn't defend that, which you would not be able to. Now, whenever you use these abilities, just like the other abilities, you would place these onto the cooldown track. So these have an ability of 2. So if the Queen had used the pink flamingo mallet, this gets placed here, and she can't use that attack ability now until this has gone out of the cooldown track. Now, one other thing to mention, if one of your characters was knocked down and then gets challenged again and gets hit again, then because they are already knocked down, they get to go on to the number 1 cooldown track. So they temporarily out of the game, and then will eventually come back into the game and come back onto one of the starting squares. Once you have an understanding of the basic rules and then start to play one of the scenarios in the book, you will find that the game rule book is very good at explaining everything for you, explaining all about obstructions and what your character can see. For example, this character A can see to Z, but cannot see through the obstructed walls to see character Y. Similarly there, they cannot see because you draw the line of sight from the center of the square to the center of the other square, and if it touches even a tiny bit of the obstacle, that blocks the view. And you will see the various diagrams here to show you. Additionally, if someone was here, they are not considered adjacent to anything if there is an obstruction in the way. We've seen the full rules all about movement, and there are some rules around challenging as well there, and also covering a ranged challenge as well. Some of your abilities may allow you to perform a challenge at a range. Now there is also a handy glossary as well at the back of the rule book, so that if you come across a word you're not quite sure of, you can look this up at the back. So that's how you play the basic game, and to actually win the basic game, well, what you need to do is to knock down a character, and then when that character is knocked down, knock that character out. And that will give you 1 victory point and win you the game. Or what you could do is play the best of 3 perhaps. So the first person to 2 points will win the game. Now, once you're used to playing the games come with a number of special scenarios, and the instructions for how to use these and set these games up are all written on the card, and they're very straightforward indeed. This one, for example, is called the Runners, where you clean cup, move down, move down. There are so many used cups on the table that it's hard to find a clean one to drink from. So you've got to be cleaning up the table there. There's a croquet match there, a find the flag scenario on that side. And on this side is a territory version of the game, where if you have characters in the scoring area at the beginning of your turn, you're going to score points. If you interact with these here, you're going to score points. If you knock out a character, you score points. And if you're playing with 2 characters, it'll be the first to gain 6 points will win. Or if playing with 3 characters per side, gain 10 points to win. And these are all very different, and you will find different ones for different maps and different things in the many different versions of Funkoverse. Okay, there you have it. That's how you play a game of Funkoverse. There are a lot of extra little rules there that will make sense once you played the basic game. It is quite straightforward. Once you've started playing and interacting and knocked down your first character and then eventually knocked out the character, and you get used to the cooldown track mechanic there, which is rather special, you will be playing games in next to no time, and you will be able to enjoy a wide selection of scenarios as well. Well, I do hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please hit the old like button and also hit that subscribe button too, if you would be so kind. That would be super nice of you. And if there's a game you would like me to cover on the channel, if we have it and I played it and you really want to know more about it, why not get in touch in the comments below and let me know, and I'll see if I can do a how to play video for you perhaps in the future. Well, as always, thanks so much for watching. Please do take care, and bye for now.